accepted that we are presently using statistics which are clearly going to move. The problem that we've got is that in the process that we're in, we are now going to local people and saying to them, we believe on our present statistics that we need to build around about 500 houses per year. Actually, that's not a new figure. That figure's been around for so long now. What I begin to wonder is, whichever figures you put in, the answer's always 500. Because the 500 at least goes back as far as the regional spatial strategy, which actually only went out of legal existence literally 3 or 4 weeks ago, I think. So I do share the concerns. I like to think that as an environmentalist, my job as a member of this council is to try and protect the environment as much as I can. Therefore, I have great concerns about Grade 1 agricultural land, about the green belts, and obviously about the potential for us starting a process which leads to more of that being concreted over, particularly because there is so little Grade 1 agricultural land in England, and we have to have quite a bit of it. So there are all kinds of concerns here, but what does worry me is that as we go through this process, we're consulting with people on statistics which I think we all accept are certainly not firmed up, and yet we're drawing conclusions from them. And that really does worry me, because over the next 12 weeks or so as this process goes on, clearly the public are going to be responding to, do we think it is a good idea to build more industrial premises and to build 510 more houses? And yet, at the moment, there is quite clear evidence. If you look at the statistics, the way that Maria's looked at those statistics, I've tried to analyse statistics, you can reasonably come to the conclusion that she has come to, and that her group of environmental campaigners have come to. So I think it's very important that we understand that statistics can be interpreted, that we are in a situation where the statistics are not clear, but that you can quite reasonably suggest that the figures that we are putting forward to the public now are not robust and could lead, and hopefully will lead, to a situation where the amount of houses to be built is going to be less, and the crucial reason that it needs to be less is because if it isn't less, clearly we are going to put pressure on our green belt. So I want the council to understand tonight that what these environmental campaigners are doing, they're not just swampies having a protest. They are genuine people from across the borough. I've taken some time to try and listen to them, to take notice of what they're saying, and to understand what they're saying. I think they've got some credible arguments to put. I think that their arguments are very important and need to be given the same weight and understanding as the arguments that are being put to us by consultants. And finally, I would say I was at that meeting on the 8th of May, and I was surprised by what I heard, because what I was told by planning consultants working for Sefton was that the population is going to increase. And the reason it's going to increase is because of inward migration into Sefton. And I think everybody in that room was surprised by that statement, because there didn't seem to be any background to it that can help you understand, well, why is this continual decline in Sefton's population, which has been going on year for as long as any of us can remember. I'm not suggesting that's good or bad, it's a statement of fact, it has been going down. And all of a sudden it starts to go up, and we're told it's due to inward migration. Now, I think if people are going to accept that that is a reasonable thing to happen, then they need to understand what is this inward migration, how is it being caused, when is it going to happen, what are the consequences of it. And at the moment, all we seem to be being told is it's going to happen. And I don't think going to happen is something that we want to take on board as being, oh yes, we'll accept it, simply because we're being told it's a problem and that we're going to have to face it. So I do think that there are credible problems behind the local plan process, and therefore if we go through this consultation process, we need to be more open-minded to what the environmental campaigners are saying to us.
Jones.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yes, we've left some 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I've read through all of this and I've gone back to the time. This all started on the core strategy a couple of years ago. My party raised many concerns about how it's being forced on us. We mentioned at that time, as it's been mentioned, the decline in our population, we suddenly need all these new houses. There's a lot of damage being done in the local area. We don't agree with what's going on our green belt. At recent overrun scrutiny, I asked a couple of questions regarding what was going forward in the plan. One was including schools, one in my area, which is under threat to be closed. They're talking about building 1,000 homes in Formby, 1,000 homes in Ainsdale. Currently our children have been forced to go to Formby to school. If the Formby houses are full of children, where will our children go then? I asked the question, what would we do about the school? He said we'd look at that again at that time. So they would knock the school down, build houses, and then suddenly realise we haven't got a school for them children to go to. Where are we going to put it? Because we haven't got the room to build a school. We mentioned the services in Southport and hospitals, etc. They can't cope now. We've seen that the ambulances, the A&E struggling. We're going to build all these houses. On the borders, we've got the West Lancs building the same. Our services cannot cope, and it's going to cripple this council and the repercussions it's going to have on us. We talk about the employment land we need. There's plenty of land. We've got an employment land which is not being taken into consideration. We have beaches. There's an employment land there can be used not to build on, as a tourist industry to be used to promote our areas, create jobs, and bring an effective toiletries that we used to have a long time ago. We need to think out the box, not just in what we're being told. Nick Bowles, one of our MPs, recently said 9% of our land is being built on. Well, I think if you look at Sefton, we're way ahead of that. We must be well over 50%. These buildings cannot go on, and we must stop them now. We don't agree with this council or this government on the recent what they're telling us we've got to do. We won't support this, and we ask them not to go any further with this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to endorse the views expressed just now by Councillor Jones and earlier by Councillor Robertson. The work that the so-called FRAGOFF organisation has done has been exceptional. I understand that they've gone through something like 3,000 plus pages of documents researching the subject, and with due respect to fellow members, they probably have more knowledge and experience on this subject than the rest of us in this room. And I applaud Mrs. Bennett and her team for the work that they've done. I think it's shameful that they've been excluded from discussions where they reasonably, with their expertise, could have been asked to join in. And I would urge the planning department of this council to include them fully in any future discussions. Thank you very much.
1 minute. I think you need to apply common sense to thinking of. We need to apply common sense to the figures. Our population is falling. I have no evidence that immigration is going to pour into Sefton in the way it hasn't poured into Sefton in the times when the immigration was much more lax than they are today. We need to challenge that. I'm concerned about the borderland development on Birkdale, where we see that there's houses, not only the rates, but the new homes bonus will go to Ormscote, not to us. Where does that infrastructure come from to go think about that? We've been misled in the past, I'm not being rude to experts, but we have been misled in the past. Manchester and Liverpool cities were emptied out, and new towns like Warrington were built because of their false, wrong...
Councillor, time is up. Thank you. Thank you for the contributions, and I now invite the Leader of the Council, Councillor Peter Dowd, to propose the action to be taken on the petition.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We are about to engage in what I think will be a reasonably long debate on the local plan, on item 7, I think. some of the issues that will be raised. And I think on that basis, we can bring out those issues at the debate in the next few minutes. And on that basis, I'll accept the fact that the petitioners don't believe that the third option figures are correct, but that's the very discussion and the very debate and part of the issue that we'll be discussing next. There'll be plenty of opportunity for people to have their tuppence worth in the next debate. Given that, and I do put that as the preamble, given that, I think on that basis we note the comments that have been made by Mrs. Bennett and FRAGOFF, and then discuss the substantive issues and give more people an opportunity to have their say. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. Is that seconded?
Yeah, seconded.
Any amendments? Right, the vote on the action as proposed. Right. And to note the petition. Agreed?
Quite interesting.
Any against? Thank you. And thank you, Mrs. Bennett.